did mention it then. If you have a blog, link to your service pages. And I described how to do that already. This goes back to the internal linking we were talking about, but it's super important to remember to link. There are two tenets of SEO, which are relevance and intent. Okay. When someone searches for line editing services, they want to land on a page that's about line editing services. They don't want to land on a page that's about some other kind or the definition of line editing. That's not what they're looking for. That's their intent. You want to make sure that you're meeting their intent. If you're internally linking your pages and you link two pages that are not related to each other, you're doing two things. Number one, you're not helping the destination page rank for its primary keyword. And number two, you're not helping the searcher because that when they search and that page comes up, it's not going to meet their intent. Okay. So I'll give you an example to illustrate. A client I had a while back had a blog about homebrewing. And so there was one massive post that was about homebrewing equipment. Now, obviously, anything you do with homebrewing is going to use some sort of homebrewing equipment. Did someone need to leave? I just saw a message pop up.
Yeah, Marie's going to have to leave. She tries to take time for us, which we appreciate from her busy work schedule, but I think her lunch hour is over. So, but Marie, the recording will be available. So.
Oh, great. Okay. All right. Well, thank you all. All right.
Thank you so much for being here, Marie.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. So anything you do with home brewing, you're using some sort of equipment, whether it's a huge brewing vat or just a measuring cup. Okay. So theoretically, you could link every single blog post, every single other post on that site to the home brewing equipment page. Now, do you want to do that? No, there's no reason to do that, because when someone searches for, let's say they search for how to, what is it? How to roast, what is it? Hops or something? I don't even remember. It's been a while. The grains that you use to make beer. They don't want to land on that post about the equipment. They don't, it's not going to help them. So you want to make sure that you're only linking relevant posts to relevant posts. So if I write, there's that homebrewing equipment post. Now I write one about how to use beakers when you're cooking yeast. I might be saying the wrong things. I don't even remember I don't know how to make beer. I wrote all the content and then I kind of dumped it after I was done. So, this post is about some sort of equipment. It's specifically about how to use this particular piece of equipment. So I am going to link, I'm going to say in that post, this is one of the most important pieces of homebrewing equipment you can have in your cupboard. Now I'm going to link homebrewing equipment to that homebrewing equipment post. Now, when I'm talking about what kind of hops to use to make beer, no, I'm not going to shoehorn in. Let me just say something about, take your hops with, I don't know, with these tweezers or something, and then link it to homebrewing equipment. No, it's not necessary. You don't need to do that. So when you're linking your blog posts either to each other, which is a good thing to do, or more importantly, you're linking blog posts to your service pages, make sure that it's relevant. Make sure that you write a blog post about the difference between line editing and the developmental editing. Don't link just to proofreading. Don't link to book coaching just because you can work those words in there somehow. No, because those things are related, but they're not. These are all services that you offer, and these are all parts of editing, but make sure that you're being very specific and keeping that relevant so that you're meeting searcher intent. As I'm saying this, you might be thinking, if you don't have a blog, oh my gosh, do I need to have a blog now? Because how am I going to build these internal links? No, you don't. Because don't create a blog just for the sake of having a blog. Let's get back to that helpful content update. If you're just writing blog posts just because you think, oh, I guess I need to have a blog just so I can build these links. No, if you have something to say, if you have, really good information to share that's going to help your potential client, yes, by all means, build a blog. If you're creating it just for the purpose of the link building, no, don't do that, because you're going to have the opposite effect, actually. Because Google is going to look at those blog posts and go, you know what, this isn't really super helpful. And it kind of looks like they only did this to link. So yeah, we're not going to rank any of this stuff because you're not really trying to help anybody with this content. You're only trying to, build these links and improve your rankings. So we're going to do the opposite instead. So there. But what you can do instead is you can counter that with more social activity. Let's say you're on LinkedIn. Let's say you're on Twitter. or X now. I still call it Twitter. That's still the URL. So, you know, excuse me, let's say you're on Instagram, any of those social networks, you can be more active there and you can link to your service pages from there. Now, that's not going to help your ranking. That's direct traffic. When we talk about search engines and optimizing content and ranking, that's organic search and organic traffic. Linking from a social account is direct because you're sending someone straight there. You're not hoping that this shows up in the search engines. You're telling someone, I do line editing and here's the service page for it. Boom. And they click it and they go right there. So that's one way that you can, if you don't have a blog, that's one way you can still get noticed and get traffic to your site. The other thing you can do is maybe create videos. YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world after Google. It's also a Google property, as we know. So if you create videos about what you do and the services that you offer and how you help your clients, that's also going to be direct traffic because you're going to link to your site in the description, in the video description. But that is another way that you can create content without having to have a blog per se. So there are other things that you can do. And real quick before I forget too, getting back to the internal linking, when you are, let's say you do have that blog and you're writing multiple posts that mention line editing and you've linked to your page with line editing services, you know, 3-4 times already, start to change up your anchor text. You don't want to link with the same anchor text each and every time. That's called exact match anchor text, and it's just not, it's a long explanation. It's just not good to do that. So make sure that you're changing up the anchor text that you use. You could say, I offer editing services, including line editing, or, you know, or services including line editing, and you link services including line editing, which gets back to Alan's question about, okay, now the keyword is the words are out of sequence. Is that still going to work? Yes, it is. Also because you have those other links that link to it with the words in the proper order. So when you change it up, you're not trying to, it doesn't look as though you're trying to manipulate search results, and it's better for your site, and it's still going to work even if the words are out of sequence like that. And that is all I have for you, so I am open for any questions that you have.
Michelle, that was awesome. That is like so helpful and so clear. Yeah, it's just huge because I've had the I guess the opportunity, or I just had to you know, build websites like through Squarespace for myself, sometimes for others who, you know, just really needed the help. But like the SEO side of it, anytime I've done it, like I did one for my uncle and I was just like, okay, this is going to look nice, but like I don't understand the SEO side, so I can't help you with that. And I felt terrible, but like I know. And so this is super helpful, and I love the way you explain it, because with something like this, that like if it doesn't come naturally to you to understand kind of the whys and whatnot behind it, it's just I think it makes it easier to remember, and then to also kind of start to understand why things work the way they do. So this is, yeah, I'll open it up if anyone has any questions. And then I did want to say, I love that you touched on the issue about having a blog, because I know that we feel oftentimes like so much pressure to have a blog, but then if you're going to do it, it's going to be a big commitment. One of the things that there's often opportunity to be a guest blogger for like professional organizations that you're a member of. And so I would suggest, if anyone has been thinking about the blog but not ready to commit or not sure if it's the right thing, look for opportunities to guest blog, and then you can still have that benefit, but you're not committing yourself to like the rest of your life having to maintain this blog.
Absolutely. That is such a good point. I'm so glad that you brought that up. I don't have a blog. That's a service that I provide my clients. I write and edit content for clients. I don't have a blog myself because, as you said, it is a huge commitment, and I would rather spend my time on providing my clients their services. But I do guest post occasionally. I have guest posted for ACES. So that is definitely something to do. I will mention too, though, that in doing that, remember what I said about you might not get that optimized anchor text. It depends on their policy. They might say, oh, yeah, sure, we don't mind linking to you, your line editing service page with that phrase, no problem. They might go, yeah, you know what, we don't want to do that, because if we do that, we have to do that for everybody. And then if they did, that dilutes the power of it anyway. If they're, if 10 editors guest post for ACES and they link to all of them with that same phrase, then it's the power of that link, of those links, is diluted. So it doesn't really matter.
That's good to keep in mind.
Yeah. yeah, just remember that. But yeah, a link from a site like ASIS, that's as I was saying, a reputable site linking back to yours. That's a vote in your favor. That Google goes, wow, this really reputable, authoritative, and long-standing site has linked to this other brand new editing site here. So this must be a good site. This is we want to take note and make sure that we're keeping this at a good position in the index.
Okay, cool. Does anyone, Jody, Alan, Annie, any questions while we have Michelle here? We good? We're still like, our minds are like, ooh, we're still processing everything. I'm sure that we'll think up some questions once you're gone and we can no longer know, but we'll reach out to you if we have questions.
Absolutely, yes, feel free.
But
And
is there, okay.
I was going to say, I won't get into sharing my screen and everything, but I was going to say, Brittany did link to my site in the chat. If you go to my site and you look at services, I have 2 service pages. I have content editing and content training. You can see how at the bottom of each of those pages, how I link each one to the other. I linked content training to content editing services and vice versa. I don't want to have editing and training on, one page. Remember I was saying about, only target 1 keyword per page. So that's why I have those 2 separate service pages, but they link to each other with that optimized anchor text. Now, whether I'm actually ranking for those things because it's extremely competitive, the answer is no. No, but I'm also not marketing myself right now. I'm also not blogging. I'm also, as I said, focusing on my client work. So I'm fine with that. I'm okay with that. But if this is something that you're interested in, that you want to do, and you know what, I'm looking at something. Hold on one second. I actually skipped something for 3 things you can do now. I skipped to the second one. The first one is make sure your site loads quickly. And let me put a link in the chat for you where you can tap your site. Oh, sorry about that.
Oh no, that's great.
Okay. You can put your URL in that. That's Google PageSpeed Insights, and it will give you a whole report on if your page is taking too long to load. That is a ranking factor. If your site takes too long to load, it is a ranking factor. It's going to affect your rankings. Not only that, if your site is taking too long to load, people might not stick around and wait for it. So make sure your images are compressed. Make sure that there's a lot of things that you can do. It's a lot to get into right now, but you can examine that report and see, if there's anything that you can do to make your site load more quickly. You want it to load in just a few seconds. When someone arrives on your site, you want, boom, that page to be there for them.
Okay, that sounds great. And then now, Michelle, I know that you have a course, like an SEO course, and then I know sometimes you give presentations. I didn't know, is there anything anywhere we'll be seeing you speak coming up, or anything else that you have coming up that we should know about?
No, not presently. I am kind of I've taken myself off the speaking circuit for a little bit.
Okay.
Just that happened actually beyond my control. I actually was supposed to speak for what is it, Editors Canada, and then the pandemic hit, and
Okay.
I was supposed to go to Toronto and everything, and I was so excited, and then pandemic, and I couldn't go, and I was so bummed. And I just never have gotten back to it yet. So that's this is actually I've done a webinar, and then I've done this today. So I'm kind of slowly getting back into it. But yeah, that's my SEO course is there for you. It's a beginner course on editorial SEO, which is a little bit of what we talked about today. And I actually, oh, you know what? Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up too. I have a coupon for you. If you let me link you to my site, because I created a coupon just for people who find my course through your book or here today.
Oh, thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, so let me put this in the chat. Here is my course. And if you decide to take it, when you get to checkout, use the coupon, and it's all caps, networking.
Okay, let me put this here.
And that'll take $70 off
Oh,
the
wow.
price.
Thank you so much. This is really,
You're very welcome.
this is really cool. And we're
Feel
definitely
free to share that too. Feel free to share
okay.
it.
All right, we will. Thank you. And we're definitely going to be like following you. So if you do start, planning to do more speaking engagements or anything like that, I think this is something I could probably listen to you talk about this all day, because it's just like, I love the way you explain it. And I think it's
thank
something that
you.
we're really missing out on, or at least I know I have been. So yeah,
That makes me so happy.
Yeah, definitely be looking
I actually gave a presentation about SEO at EFA Con a few years ago. It must have been
Okay.
2019 because it was prior to the pandemic. And I've
Mhm.
spoken at ASIS, and both of those, it was so fun. And I would like to do that again. As I said, I just haven't really gotten geared up for that again. But
Okay.
yes, I will definitely keep you posted. And thank you so much again for inviting me. And I hope that you did find this helpful. And yes, if anybody comes up with any questions after, feel free to reach out. Okay, Brittany?
Okay, thank you so much, Michelle. Have a good rest of your day. I hope you feel a little better too.
Oh, thanks. Thanks. Y'all have a good day.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Michelle.
Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
That was really helpful.
That was
Yes,
great.
it was.
That was, I love the way she explains things. Yeah, I struggle with the SEO, just with the whole concept and everything. I know I probably shouldn't, but I do. Yeah, and that was very thoughtful of her to offer us the discount as well. So I've got that. I'll put it, I think she said it was networking all caps. Put it in the chat. All right. So, okay, awesome. And if anyone has questions afterwards, you think up, because that's what always happens to me.
Yeah.
Let me know, and we'll get the questions to her and see if we can get some insights, some answers. So,
Okay.
and then it looks like, so we did go over, it's about 1:20. And I know we were scheduled to like 1:30. I can stay longer, if I don't know if y'all can or not, so we can kind of play it by ear. Or if you need to leave, I understand, like at 1:30, but I can stay longer. So I thought today is like officially the last day of our study group, but I was thinking that since we did have this kind of cut into our time, if y'all would like to meet up again, maybe next week, we could always do that. You're up for that? Okay, good. Yeah, I enjoy doing this. So I thought, well, we didn't have a lot of time to talk about this last chapter, so I'll check with Linda. We can either do it during our office hours, which I think is scheduled for next week, or we can just do it at this, our regular time. So I'll let you know. So through Circle, I don't know if you received it, but I can send you like little direct messages. You should get it as an email. So I'll let you know for sure the time for that. But yeah, let's take a few minutes. And does you want to share wins, or do we want to get straight into our communication style and networking?
I don't know if I have wins this week.
I don't either.
Well, I think making it here for Michelle's session was a win for me. So I thought that was
That's
really
good.
helpful. So, well, let's see. Has everyone had a chance to do the reading for this week?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
And any thoughts, any like challenges? Does it all sound kind of doable? Does it make sense in terms of looking at your communication style through the networking lens?
I
Yep.
really like the tips on page 67, the communication tips.
Okay, let me take a look at page 67 so I can know exactly which ones. Sorry, I have to keep an eye on him because
Yes.
he he usually uses my printer to like jump to the top of the thing, and sometimes that doesn't end well. So yeah, I mean, I find, when Linda and I were working on this chapter, I think we really gathered a lot of the experiences that we've had, ourselves, hearing from other editors, kind of collecting some best practices, because I think it's very easy to get sort of just overwhelmed with your day-to-day work and sort of forget how you come across in email communications or other things, and just kind of sometimes forget just that we all have different communication styles. So what one person, experiences as being kind of brusque is just very natural for the other person. I have this with my husband a lot. He worked in the corporate world for quite a while. And so like, he's very to the point and like, no fluff or anything like that. And sometimes when I am on the receiving end of that, I feel like, wait a second, I'm a person, say hello, that type of thing. So part of it is understanding who you're talking with. And I like to kind of err on the sort of, I guess, being a little more aware on that side, and then, adjusting it as you get to know who you're talking or emailing with. But and I know that we had some exercises. I don't know if y'all had time to do that. If you'd like to share any of your takeaways.
I didn't do the exercises yet.
Okay, that's all right. Well, we'll meet again next week so we can talk
Great.
about it then. Well, one thing I did want to encourage you to do, because we do talk in here about having templates, and I find that is has been very helpful to me, and I know a lot of other editors do this as well. If you use a program like Text Expander, where basically it's you can, whether I use Text Expander both for email and then also like for editing for my queries. If there's a query that I have to ask people over and over again, or ask my clients, I'll have it in Text Expander, and then I can just press a couple of buttons and it will pop up in my query box in Word. And you can do the same thing for like those really quick, simple emails. Sometimes, like for me, and especially I know when I was starting out in my career, there are times when you can't say yes to a project that comes across your desk, whether it's because of timing or something else. And I always felt kind of stressed because I wanted to be able to say yes to everything. And I also, if it's a new client, you don't want to just like lose that client and things like that because you're not available. So I found it was helpful to me to write sort of a text expander snippet. That's basically what I would say in that email. Like, thank you so much for thinking of me. This sounds like a wonderful project. At the moment, my schedule is booked for that period, but, I would, please think of me for that type of thing. And to me, it just like helped me from a stress level because I don't have to be in the moment. I don't, everything, I know it's spelled correctly and beautifully and all that kind of thing. And I can just text expander it in there or copy and paste it in there. And I think that that's just a tool that I've used as a way to make sure that my communication is mindful, but it's also tailored to kind of like what I want the client experience to be with me. So that's one of my favorite kind of tips from this chapter. But I like that. Does anyone have anything you want to add or any questions? Go ahead, Annie.
I was just going to say that it was a really good tip about how you kind of communicate with clients and stuff, because I've had multiple occasions where I've pitched for a job and I've had a bit of back and forth with the client and they've said, oh, I've gone with another editor. And I always respond with, thank you so much for letting me know. I really appreciate it. And I wish you all the best with the project. And if anything comes up in the future. And I've had several clients come back to me with more work going,
Right.
I really enjoyed talking to you and this one didn't work out, so I'm picking you now. So that's always like a really easy thing to do, which has
It
been
is.
really successful for me.
Mm-hmm. I think that that's really smart. And what I love about it is that it also shows that one, it shows a level of professionalism, but two, it also shows like that you're there. There's a personality, or sorry, a relationship aspect to it. I mean, it's a working relationship, but it is like, you're there for them. So even if it's not a great fit or it doesn't work or whatever, it lets them know, okay, this is someone I would like to work with because of how she handled this particular issue. So, and I've had similar things as well. If I couldn't take a copy edit project, but we had a really good rapport and we kept those like lines of communication open, and then they'll come back to me for the proofread or other things like that. So I definitely think that that pays off, but it's also just it doesn't just pay off in terms of the next project. It's just that's they're going to think of you and they need to refer you to someone, that type of thing. So yeah, good tip. I'm glad that's working for you. I love that.